If you want to understand the extent to which you occupy a perspective in engineering, it's important to recognize that perspectives other than your own are not only those that are far away in other countries. Rather, you're living amidst lots of different perspectives, cross-cutting all the time. In this module of the course, we come back home and we explore perspectives that are coexisting inside of engineering education today. Do you know, for example, that your faculty are arguing with one another right now over what kind of education you should be getting, over what should be in your education inside of engineering? And indeed, throughout the history of engineering education in the United States, faculty and others have fought over what should be in every single credit hour of an engineering educational curriculum. What we're going to focus on are developments that have taken place in engineering education since the late 1980s, which I describe here as reform movements in engineering education. We're going to examine two different reform movements that developed in sequence but coexist today inside of engineering curricula and engineering educational institutions. Now, to understand these reform movements, you have to first understand, well, we need to revisit the dominant image of engineering problem solving in engineering in the United States, focusing specifically on the rise of the engineering sciences. We take for granted the importance of the engineering sciences and engineering education, and indeed such has been true since the 60s and 70s in the United States. Much of this started prior to the 50s, however. Engineering education looked rather different. A key event, a key moment, is embodied in the word Sputnik. Have you seen the film October Sky? If you have not, it is now an assignment. You have to go see the film October Sky, which presents the story of some young boys from West Virginia, one of whom turns out eventually to be a Virginia Tech graduate, who cope with their own lives as sons of miners by developing their own rocketry system, and eventually go on to win a national science fair contest. The story vividly portrays America's fear, America's experience of Sputnik, a satellite flying overhead. In the United States, that achievement, the Soviet achievement, was read as an achievement of science, not as an achievement of engineering, specifically science. Note that those boys won a national science fair. And America responded by dramatically expanding support for science in a variety of ways and arenas. For example, the Congress passed the National Defense Education Act. Notice, Defense Education Act, which supported graduate work for scientists in the name of national defense. It also offered support for what is known as the Grinter Report, which had been published in 1955, 2 years before Sputnik, which flew in 1957. And the Grinter Report was arguing for a greater participation of the engineering sciences in engineering education. So it's important to see how the appearance of Sputnik and the rise of the Cold War and America's image of the Cold War shaped the changing position of engineers in engineering education.